If you think of what is on your balance sheet in terms of equipment and vehicles and what it would cost to replace that, have you got that knocking around? You need to be super profitable.
Sometimes people think profit's a dirty word.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
Like, definitely not.
Yeah, it's vital. If you're not profitable, you're out of business. With hiring and building a team, a lot of it comes down to trust. You've got to be prepared to let go of the reins a little bit. Still want to keep them tight and say, make sure everyone's getting the sort of service level and experience that they will get from you. However, you've got to be able to trust. Again, a keyword research and knowing what's not only going to score well on Google, but what is like a hot search term. I'm sure there's a posh SEO name for that, but like an intentional sort of thing. What are the real key search terms that are going to actually turn into potential customers for you? Because I could score for moles in lawns, something if I wanted to, but there's no point. You've got to be intentional and purposeful with everything that you do as a business owner, because there's only so many hours in the day. I think a lot of business owners will say, oh yeah, we grow through referral, we grow through word of mouth. What's the strategy? What's the scheme? What are they doing to incentivize and gain more referrals? Because some just expect them just to appear.
Welcome to second series of Roots to Revenue. Today we have Jack Chapman back in the studio to find out how he has grown his business to a 6-van setup and scaled his business. Before we get into that, let me tell you a bit about today's sponsor. The podcast is sponsored by Jobber. Now, anybody who is seriously busy and needs to free up time needs to check out Jobber. I use it personally for the last 10 years and it does all my scheduling, invoicing and quoting, but best of all, it gets me paid faster and my customers love it.
And don't forget to get in the link in the description to get your special Premier Lawns discount. Jack, nice to see you again. Do you just want to introduce yourself and maybe give your business a bit of a plug?
Thanks, Jason. I'm Jack. I am the founder of Kingsbury Lawn Care. We are a lawn treatment specialist based in the West Midlands, covering much of North Warwickshire, across Staffordshire, into Derbyshire. But yeah, most of the West Midlands as a whole. We run 6 vans. A little bit about me. I am a keen runner, keen cricket fan, keen football fan, a bit of everything.
Jack, what was the one key decision that you believe helped grow Kingsbury Lawn Care?
That's really tough, but I'll give it a good shot. Key decision. I don't think there's been one sort of secret magic formula, one sort of point in time. I think it's more mindset and a number of things over several years. Nothing's an overnight success. Ultimately,
if somebody was thinking about starting up their own business, what would be the one thing you would say to them? Do this thing first.
From the absolute startup, you want to make sure that obviously what you're offering and the service proposition that you're putting together is robust and that there's a need for it. There is an element of market research there. Ultimately, there's a need for the service in the area, and ultimately that you're serving your customers' needs. Otherwise, you're not going to have a business full stop. So that would be the absolute ground up is the service that you're offering or product. Then it's probably how to sell that and how to market it. Ultimately,
we're gonna get.
We're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. I'm sure. Yeah.
So for anybody that watched season 1, Jack came over and he has a really robust, because you believe HR is a really big part of growing your business. And you did a really good, we're going to link to the end of that. We're going to link to that podcast at the end of this podcast. Jack did a really good interview on how to hire the right team members. And having the right team members is the big thing. But so with 6 vans on the road, how do you make sure that everyone gets the Kingsbury Lawn Care service that you're known for?
Firstly, I think with hiring and building a team, a lot of it comes down to trust. You've got to be prepared to let go of the reins a little bit. You still want to keep them tight and say, make sure everyone's getting the sort of service level and experience that they will get from you. However, you've got to be able to trust. So I suppose it first starts with that hire, I suppose, and having the right person in that hire, because then that sort of knocks on into that sort of service level. The right sort of mentioning sort of training and onboarding again, I suppose,
yep.
But it's having the right systems and processes in place.
What do you do? What do you do to onboard new team members as they join?
So,
tell us about that.
Yeah, I'll put together like a calendar almost of where they're going to be, because from day one, your new joiner isn't going to know how to use Jobber, for example, and actually see where they're going and who they're visiting. They literally just need a blank piece of paper of, on day one, this is what we're going to do, this is where we're going to be, these are the things that we're going to work on. We're going to get your uniform issued. We're going to do these absolute basics on day one. And then if you skip forward on week 3, week 4, it's actually a bit more advanced then, the sort of things that may be being discussed. And that way, it's not all on me doing the training either. A lot of that is actually done by my lead tech, Stan. He's actually out with the new technicians, so they can sort of follow along. And obviously, if things crop up from that, then obviously can be bounced off me at the end of the week and such.
Not everyone will have seen the first podcast. Just to give an overview of your hiring. So in your first podcast, you said that you don't hire on experience, you hire on attitude. So a lot of the people that are joining Kingsbury Lawn Care don't necessarily know how to carry out a lawn treatment.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Ultimately, greenkeepers out there, pull your socks up. What I'm going to say. It's difficult to find somebody that has the experience and has that core value fit with maybe what we're looking for. Because ultimately, what we're looking for is a mobile greenkeeper. It's more customer service, people facing, that sort of attitude. Doesn't matter what background people come from to come into the lawn care industry, because we're so niche, no one's done it before. So doesn't matter if you're a greenkeeper or a postman, neither have pushed a 2-foot wide aerator and got it down someone's garden gate sort of thing. So many different, it's just different. Again, it's so niche, so no one's done it before anyway. And then if we do have people that apply that have done it before, you've obviously got to dig into why it was that they actually left the previous role as well. Yeah. It might not be suited for them, for example.
I suppose whoever you get in, you're saying they don't not necessarily have the experience, but they've also got to have, I suppose they've got to have the want to be in that industry as well.
It's the willingness to learn above all else. As I say, regardless of where they're from, it's where they want to go and where they see themselves and how committed, that sort of warm vibe that you get towards your company. And when your process might be CV, phone call, interview, little ride outside, whatever it is, that can't be faked. We see through that. We've done enough sort of thing with people that it's say matching with the core values. It's that want to grow and develop rather than someone that's just going to come and coast.
You guys have quite a rigorous recruitment process, and it typically takes, I can remember you saying from the first podcast, up to 6 months to find someone. So again, you're really focusing in on a really specific type of person. And then I suppose that then transfers whenever they come and start, then it's easier to teach them exactly how you do things, as opposed to them coming in with a lot of experience. Typically, you're not bringing someone in that has a lot of experience. You're bringing someone in and then training them exactly the way you want them to be.
I think people, again, if they've had no experience, almost really appreciate the opportunity and appreciate that you are investing in them. And maybe we're a little bit different in that I believe we've already got that experience within the company. So I've already mentioned Stan as an example. We've got other experienced techs. We've got a structure around them and a foundation and a process where we can actually train people from scratch, because a one-man band, that actually is still viable because it's still on them. But if it's a team of 3 or 4, it's how you bring someone. So you've got to do the sort of the hard yards beforehand to sort of develop that.
Do you use any software to manage that onboarding process? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a software called Air Manual. I don't think I mentioned before, to be fair. We can document any processes, anything that I'm looking to delegate. This would be a great one for you, Robbie. Free up some of your time as well. But anything, it probably works better with office staff, to be fair. But if there is a job that I am doing, how can I let that go to somebody else? If that is just a checklist of this is how you carry out this job, do this first, then this, and this, and this. I'll have it on a different monitor, sort of doing something and documenting what's going on. Or I can use Loom and do a screen recording of actually what I'm doing. So even if it's just to check payments or something, I can record a video. Someone on day one could literally watch that video, do that job. If they've got any questions, at least then if they're asking any questions, they're high-level questions, rather than how do you do the real basics.
How to ensure that people aren't checking that box? Is that just from really homing in on what exactly they need to do? So you're not like sort of creating a role where people come along and go, oh, I have to do this, or well, I'll just check those boxes. That'll be grand. How do you stop that?
Ultimately, it's in everyone's best interest, really, in terms of if
Does that come down to
if-
hiring?
yeah,
Hiring
if
the right
you've-
person?
if you are, as a new starter, if you're saying, oh, yes, I feel happy doing that, and you're paired up with somebody, and then you by yourself, you're going to fall on your own sword a bit later, aren't you? So you almost want to make the best use of all the resources you've got around you in your early weeks to make the very most of that training and onboarding. And with a new starter, I'll have a weekly catch up. So I'll give them a call on a Friday or meet face to face on a Friday. Say, right, how's your week been? I'll speak to Stan as well, but how's your week been? What is it that you've liked about the week? What is it that you haven't liked about the week? Is there anything that then we can sort of tweak and pick up on? I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's a high proportion of new hires will leave in the first 3 months or first 6 months. So actually, are the little things that we've missed out on, can they actually help that next hire? Can we actually tweak the process a little bit? So you almost need to be continually learning. But so I'll catch up with them every Friday, and then we can iron out some little things or things that they feel. Ask the question of them, what is it that you need to work on? What is it that you're a little bit unsure on? Because you can tweak that plan then.
Each time it just gets incrementally better. Every time you bring someone
That's
on,
it, yeah.
just incrementally better.
Yeah, for sure. You never stop learning. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what position you are in business. The challenge is just developing to different ones all the while. And I suppose when we'll have a team of 8, as of including myself, next month, that's I suppose where we are in a way is, in my mind, it's a bit more of a recruitment and HR. Sales and marketing problems are maybe a little bit different to someone that's a sole trader or a 2-3 man band.
As you grow a business, it develops. As we're going to get into leadership shortly, but your roles change as the business is growing, really.
Massively. I, speaking with Jason before, to be fair, I can remember only a couple of years ago where I was out on the tools 4-5 days a week, and then I would be doing an hour or 2 in the morning of admin and bits and pieces in front of the computer between like 6 and 8, going out and treating lawns for the day, and then sandwiching another couple of hours of work of an evening, and effectively doing the work of 2 or at least 1.5, very least. And it just wasn't. It's not sustainable. You've got to be prepared, I think, as a business owner, to suck up some long hours now and then. There's going to be a bottleneck. It's going to happen.
Do you want to work in the business or on the business?
On is obviously key. As things have progressed, then I'm completely off the tools. Now that's vital. It has to be, because we're too busy from the office side. And if I'm in front of customers, that's amazing. But again, as saying before, I could be stuck in traffic. You're not achieving anything as the business owner sat behind the wheel, stuck in traffic, apart from listening to this podcast, maybe. Sort of thing. It's the only thing. It's a sort of take on, in all seriousness, that's what I'll listen to podcasts, because you're taking on new information then, at least.
Yeah.
But that's all you can do. At least then, if you're at your desk, I can actually be in contact with a lot of customers and achieving much more.
How have you found customers, if the owner's not turning up there to do the quote, do you think that has an effect if you're looking to grow your business? Like you say, time's the only thing that they don't make. Was there much pushback from customers if the owner's not turning up to give them the care that they think that they want?
I'm going to say no, but only because of the skills and experience of Stan going back 3 years, for example.
Do you want to tell us a wee bit? Do you want to tell us a wee bit about Stan and what he does?
Yeah, so he's our sort of lead tech. So we've got a technician team of 5 now. He's been with me nearly 4 years, coming up to 4 years now. Previously, he was with he was head groundsman at a local football league club. We're also in the championship for a time as well. Before that, he'd done some time at Wimbledon and the Chelsea training ground. So he's got a CV that you'd swap just for those experiences. Like, it actually looks really fun.
He knows about grass.
But his knowledge is, so he's got a foundation degree in turf management. So
he's the perfect boy for him.
But so it goes further with Stan. Rather than just being a good lawn technician, it's almost being a mentor then to other technicians ultimately. Because again, I'm sat here now. I'm not training somebody new that maybe only started a few weeks or a few months ago. I've now sort of delegated that role as well, effectively.
We did we did a podcast. We did a podcast with guys last year, and I went on and did some networking with them, and they're in a 3 to 5, the 9 to 5 club or 3 to 5 club, and it's all about how much time can you spend away from your business. Does your business have you by the neck, or can you go away for a set period of time, and having the processes and stuff in place? How long do you think you could take off if something came up, or if you wanted to go on holidays, or how long do you think you could be away from from the business?
I remember us speaking about this last time, yeah. And I think at the time I said a month, maybe longer. Not sure I'm gonna test it. Certainly not through the spring. Certainly not at the moment. We've got a lot going on at the minute. So just a day here is cool, sort of thing. But
springtime's different. Springtime's
definitely a month.
Season.
Definitely a month. I'm extremely confident on that.
Would you say longer than a month would come down to the trust from yourself?
Good question. There's no doubt I trust everyone. I'm just trying to think now off the top of my head what sort of things need me.
All about moving that needle.
Yeah, I think it's just little monthly banking processes, anything that sort of comes to mind. Like what am I keeping hold of that Olivia, who's in the office, would need from me right now? So quite a bit going on at the minute, so it'd be tough at the moment. But yeah, certainly a month, but maybe a couple.
Then the season as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Spring's coming in. The spring's peak season for lawn care. You can't.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Holiday ban on.
Yeah. I think for me, with me pushing the business, it feels though I need to be fairly close to it at the moment. Whereas I think it'd be different if my foot was off the gas a little bit. Then I could maybe disappear for 3 months if I wanted to. But I love what I do. I'd get bored. Like some people would see maybe a 50, 55-hour week and think that's hard going. I do it because I enjoy it. There's times where it's not as enjoyable and you think, no, that's wearing me down a little bit. But when it's going well, you love it. We don't choose to be in business and run your own business and you're still here after a few years if you don't enjoy it.
You have to genuinely enjoy it. How long have you been running for, Jack? How many years?
I was thinking about this on the way over actually, just from the book that I was reading. But I was at school and I was cutting lawns, and I'm 31 now. So
that brings me on to my next question.
Was that intentional?
I'd love to say yes, but I'm going to say no. How has your branding changed from you going from a young lad with a lawnmower to 6 vans on the road now? Was it as important back then as it is now?
It makes me cringe thinking back to I had some Vistaprint magnetic stickers that went on the side of a Ford Fiesta with folded down back seats with a mower in the back, because you couldn't even afford the van insurance then because it was ridiculous for an 18-year-old sort of thing. In terms of how the branding's changed, I think proving it there that it's probably not that important when you're first starting out. Ultimately, the brand is you. So all the bells and whistles that go with it, your logo, your uniform. I think it'd be easy to almost sweat about the wrong things to start out. So it still needs some sort of brand, even if it's very average.
They you look a lot more professional, turn up the job and a logo on your t-shirt.
As time's gone on, obviously that's developed and that's changed. It's had to move forward. So we're looking for an ideal customer, of course, and that ideal customer wants a professional outfit. Ultimately, we're on people's properties, and they want typically a more professional outfit than the competition. When people come to us, they might have had bad experiences with franchise operators, for example, before. So how we put ourselves across, and that's not just people think brand and they just think logo and they just think uniform, and that's not the case. Like our shop window is the internet ultimately. So it's how we are displaying ourselves from the very first contact and how the vans are looking and such. All of these little things add up. Again, it's something that I'm not certain on the stats, but I think someone needs to see your business 7 times before they pick up the phone, even if that's just a social post, seeing the van, seeing maybe a piece of marketing or coming up on Google, for example. So it definitely is important as you're looking to grow. As you're looking to start, maybe not as such.
I think even having a clean van, clean tool says a lot. If you turn up to the job and everything's clean, I appreciate whenever you're busy, things get dirty, and dirty van can often be a sign of a busy person. But at the same time, I think a lot of customers appreciate it if they see you making an effort at the very start.
Yeah.
Well, as things progress as well, but having clean vans, even if you have an older van, like I have an older van, van's 2009, and it's a lot of miles on the road, but we just paid to get the bottom of it resprayed, because I believe that it's important to have
some fresh wheel trims on it as well.
Yeah, it might be an older van and it looks older, but it doesn't look as old as dead. It doesn't look as tired.
Not.
I don't know if it's just me, but a tradesperson that has no wheel trims, and it's just the wheel arch, you think cost you 20 quid from.
No comment.
But no,
just don't say how long it took to get wheel trims from.
Yeah, little details sometimes they add up, don't they? Ultimately, is what we're saying. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
How has your branding changed over the years?
It's probably it's online. Is the key thing.
Tell us about your online presence. Where can people find you?
So hopefully,
how much effort do you put into those? How much effort do you put into those different?
Hopefully, when people search for a lawn care company in the West Midlands, we'll be in the top 3, which is where we want to be. Ideally, you'd be number 1, but there's like Trusted Trader and such, and maybe major franchised operators that could be that you're never going to get past. But if you're the number 1 independent and you're sat in positions 2, 3, 4, you're in a good place then. So hopefully, we're capturing really good customers just through Google search there. That again, when starting out, you might put a website together, and it might be a 1-2 page website, and it's a start, but that is an ever developing tool. That's not a one and done. A lot of people get a new website and then it's just great, I've got a website.
Everybody says my website's with SEO.
Yeah.
This is somebody, if they're designing a website for you, they'll say your website has SEO, but unless you're creating content on a regular basis, it just gets lost.
You've got to be proactive. What gets measured gets managed and everything. And yeah, we'll have regular blog posts going on there, new landing pages, and we'll do that in-house. But we'll forever be pushing that website, fresh links. Say blog, just content. Just Google is just aware that is not a stationary website that's just been created and abandoned, because I think a lot are ultimately, aren't they?
I've read your blogs for years, and I know you work very hard at the blogs. How often do you think you should publish one, or how often do you think blogs should go out?
Probably not the right person to ask. Firstly, doing something's better than nothing, isn't it? If it was one a month. But I think the key thing with blogs, it's a keyword research. Why are you doing it? Don't just write without a plan. What keywords are you looking to boost? If you've got maybe an SEO tool of some sort that is doing some keyword research or giving you suggestions on your website, then yeah, and then it's how then you're promoting that. You might put that onto your social channels, onto your Google My Business with the link there and such. Who is stumbling across that blog post? For one example, I've got a blog post. I'm trying to think of the title off the top of my head, but it's how much does lawn care cost in 2020? I don't think I've used the date actually. What is the true cost of lawn care? A lot of views. There's a lot of people are typing that into Google. I just saw something on there and put together a good blog, like a lengthy blog with lots of images, very descriptive, but at the same time interesting.
I get that. So I'd said I'm quite good at writing titles as well, obviously for videos and whatnot. And you really need to, for SEO, you really need to think about what people search for, not what you, the business owner. You need to think about what somebody's going to type.
You got to think of it from the other side rather than
Again, that keyword research and knowing what's not only going to score well on Google, but what is like a hot search term. I'm sure there's a posh SEO name for that, but like an intentional sort of thing. Not someone that's just searching lawn fertilizer, which maybe just be looking for a product, not a service, for example. What are the real key search terms that are going to actually turn into potential customers for you? Because I could score for moles in lawns or something if I wanted to, but there's no point. So You've got to be intentional and purposeful with everything that you do as a business owner, because there's only so many hours in the day, and it needs to be high quality what you're getting out there.
Apart from websites, what other platforms do you use for your online presence, Jack?
Reviews, if that be Trustpilot or our Google business profile, are absolutely massive. It doesn't matter if it's a product or a service, people are going to the reviews. That's the first thing you do, isn't it?
How many reviews do you have?
They're across lots of platforms. We've got over 200 on Google. There might be 20 or 30 odd on Trustpilot. And I think there's like a few on Yell and Bark and a few others that are just kind of scattered around. But it's what you do for any product or service, is you head to the reviews, regardless of what it is that you're looking for. A good customer does their homework.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're the customers we want.
So 200 reviews is quite high. What would be your tips on incentivizing customers to give you a review?
When a customer is at their happiest, if that be a few months after a lawn renovation, or even if they're absolutely blown away by the results on the first treatment, for example, if someone is at sort of that peak of that sort of happiness curve, that is the point to verbally ask for a favour. Face to face, rather than just spamming out an email and I'll leave us a review. It's just that easily just get deleted. If someone face to face is saying, look, this would be a huge help to my company if you were able to do this for us. And maybe you've got something then that you can hand over, if it be a card with like a QR code maybe, or an email link that you send when you get home, just to touch in with them. But if that customer has verbally said yes, I'd say 80% of the time they're actually then going to follow through with it. Email, another, so you've just got to get a verbal yes, that human connection, and they'll be happy to help you out in return because you've helped them.
I know you said like face to face, but do you ever get any messages through to your phone saying how good somebody's done? Would you then just reply to that message to say, just go ahead and try and give us a review online? Or
I've done it via email before. We've had customers that were blown away by the results and said, one of the technicians, Stan, Matt, Mark, whoever it be, said, they were fantastic. And then I will not think, right, okay, there's an opportunity here. And it's not just nice for the company, but if they mention that technician's name in the review, that gives them a little bit of a boost as well. Like, that's their name in lights, and you've obviously aided that, but that's cool. I don't want the company just to be about me. That's not my style. I want everyone's name sort of
you want everyone to feel love.
Yep. That's it.
You want to? Is there any other platforms you use? I know you don't typically really use Instagram that much, or you use Facebook. Is that more just for the ads, or?
Well, across your standard social channels, your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Business Profile. I've got an account on Twitter, but they're not massive customer generators as such. Certainly not organic. I think we might have picked up a dozen from organic social channels last year.
They're very time consuming to get right as well.
Well, this is it, unless you're going to do silly dancing videos, then it's...
You don't get any ideas, Robin.
Yeah, you've got to really play the algorithm. We've used Facebook and Instagram for paid ads to some success, but
on that note,
do
you find the customers that come through Facebook and Facebook paid ads, do you find that they stay with you, or how's sort of customer retention in that? We're going to talk about that shortly, but just while we're talking about Facebook, do you find that customers would typically stay with you a lot through Facebook ads?
It's a good outlet, but it depends on what other marketing channels that you've got, what your cost per customer is per different marketing sources, and then ultimately you need the data to then back it up. How much are they spending and how long are they staying with you? Are they causing you much bother sort of thing as a customer? Where are your best customers coming from? So I think anyone hearing this almost needs to answer their own questions in terms of their own marketing channels. From my experience though, we've had some success with Facebook and Instagram. I think we had 90 customers via paid ads last year.
Facebook's reasonably easy to set up the ads on as well.
Yeah, the cost per customer is low, but the retention is also questionable, and the size of the lawns that we pick up are smaller than average. So it's got its pros and cons.
I think it's almost like a different sort of clientele you're getting from Facebook towards
exactly.
the
Yeah, they're not the largely. This is all within every source. There's outliers, but that's what the data says that we've been able to pull out.
How's your marketing changed over the last lot of years since you're going from small to large? While we're on the subject of marketing, how's all that changed?
Yeah, so a few years ago, there'd have been a lot of fly drops, if that be paid fly drops or just even myself. It's almost just sweat equity. Almost you're putting into the company. You're out there. You're banging out flyers, sort of thing. You're almost putting yourself out as much as possible, trying to be visible, sticking stuff online on your social channels. As very much you're not spending much money, you're spending lots of time. And I think that's how a company in the startup phase. That's the way to go unless you've got a lot of investment sort of going into it. That's almost and that obviously works to a level. But there gets to a point where then you've got to explore paid channels, and the website starts to get going and say time and investment needs to go into marketing channels because there's only so many flyers that you're going to post, for example.
First couple of years, flyers non-stop, and as you get going, because whenever you first start, you're probably not going to be doing that many blogs, and it's not really that important to start to see the crossover then.
And you can't punt with paid channels. If you've only got a limited budget when you're starting up your company and money is tight, then you're not going to say, I'm going to experiment with this, and this. You're going to have to be savvy. Yeah. Marketing is just constant experimentation anyway. But you still got to be savvy with that. So starting out, flyers, but the website, again, I keep coming back to it, but moving your way up those organic rankings is obviously key. The more vans you have on the road, obviously you're becoming more visible. There's so many different marketing avenues I could reel off, but striking up.
What's your best ways?
Let's start from the top.
Let's
work down.
Let's skip to now. What do you do now? Yeah,
so our biggest sources of new customers, not just leads, but customers, would be Google, organic Google. Secondly, is probably then referrals. As a small company, if 1 in 10 customers are referring you to somebody else, then it's probably not a big number. But as soon as then you have got hundreds of customers, then that actually becomes quite serious then. And again, are you ballsy enough to say, do you have friends and family that we might be able to help when someone is absolutely delighted with your work?
What way do you offer a discount for somebody referring you?
Yeah, I don't think it's important though, because I don't think people do it for the discount. Certainly the current customer doesn't. We actually offer the option to donate it to cancer research, that £20. When I was running the London Marathon, a lot did that year. So yeah, that was quite a year. But for a new customer, they get a £20 discount that they're grateful for.
But the people who are referring typically are happy to refer you, but it does maybe help incentivize some of them. Yeah,
at least you're giving away something. What we've trialed this autumn, I've sent a letter to a customer that has referred. I have sent them a typed up letter, signed the bottom, handwritten the address, stamp into the post, just as a thank you, and to actually say to them, look, you are like a part of our journey almost, because if they've referred once, they could well refer again. Yeah. Statistically, they're more likely to refer again. So they deserve, I think, as business owners, we try and almost treat all of our customers equally. And to an extent we should, but to an extent we shouldn't as well. Those people that have gone out of their way to refer or review deserve like at least a personal thank you, even if you're not all about just chucking cash or discounts. Yeah. That's not what they're doing it for. Often.
When you say not treating them different, it's not the fact that you're treating them different as in the way you do the treatments or anything like that. It's like you said, just that personal letter, just to say it's that little bit extra.
Yeah, we just trialed that, just see if we can prompt some sort of repeat referrals. But there's definitely further opportunity there. We refer. It's a nice way to grow as well, isn't it? But it works both ways, because that customer that has referred you, they're not going anywhere anytime soon either. They clearly they've got their feet dug in, aren't they? Yeah, sort of thing. But I think a lot of business owners will say, oh, yeah, we grow through referral, we grow through word of mouth. Well, what's the strategy? What's the scheme? What are they doing to incentivize and gain more referrals? Because some just expect them just to appear, these referrals. Well, you can actually grease the wheels, kind of sort of thing.
And after referrals, what would you find would be your next biggest lead generator?
Google referrals. I could potentially say van sightings at this point in time. People will just ring and say, "Yeah, I saw your van on so and so such a street," or it could be that a customer actually approaching a technician that's just a neighbour. So sort of just kind of those sort of walk ups, if you like.
And again, a lot of branding that comes down to branding as well.
Yeah, I think the vehicle graphics might cost £800-900. Depends if you have the van like fully wrapped and such, doesn't it? But if you're going to have that van for 5 years, then what's that? A couple of £100 a year maybe to have the graphics. When you break it down like that,
Not very much.
yeah, it makes sense when you think of it investment over time. Following that, mail. Actually, no, probably Facebook and Instagram potentially then was in terms of customer volume. Again, these are smaller lawns. So it depends on how you're scoring things because it could be less customers but bigger. So yeah, Facebook and Instagram, paid ads. And then so an interesting one that not everyone might do would be mail. So this is using a mail company to send letters to purposely bigger homes, much more expensive. Think of it as a very fancy flyer.
I was going to say, yeah.
Are they addressed? Are they addressed to the customer, or is it their
Dear Gardener? Yeah,
Dear
we don't
Gardener,
have their names, but yeah, if you think a flyer, you would sort of scattergun a flyer. Say you were paying for a paid flyer drop, and it work it out, and it costs you a penny a flyer or whatever you melt it down to. With the mail, imagine you're only going through the biggest homes. You're on the 700-800k, £1 million plus properties, but each one might be costing you 80p to get out, for example, because they're going out in the post, and maybe it's a bit better what you're putting out there. Now we only got 35 customers through that. However, the average lawn size is triple our average lawn size. So
and chances are they're not just buying the basic service.
Depend. Real big lawns, they only tend to have the basic service because
the cost.
Yeah, like keeping a real nice lawn that's really big would actually be quite daunting to us. I don't know what's the biggest scarify you guys have ever done, but sometimes I've been to a couple and I'm like, if they wanted this scarified, I'm thinking we're gonna have to hire some kit almost.
We have a lawn that's 5,000 square meters. I really wouldn't fancy scarifying that one.
Yeah. I don't think they'd fancy paying the bill either. Yeah.
So Jack, let's talk money. What is the best advice for funding new vans and equipment for when you're expanding and also for now as well?
I could give a lot of different answers for this one. And I think speaking to a different business owner could give you a different attitude. Someone quite bullish could say, go get a loan and sort of go for it. How I have gone about things, it's largely been out of retained profit. Now, this is the key thing. If your company is not super profitable in the first place, you're not going to go anywhere. And I'm passionate about this one. Is that if you're not profitable, you can't grow. You can't advance those equipment. You can't advance your machinery. You can't give your team pay rises unless your business is not just profitable. It needs to be comfortably profitable because there's always unexpected costs. There's always changes in the budget, for example. There's things to trip us up everywhere. Some things that you can see, some things that you can't. So being super profitable is important. Now, this one could be crazy to a lot of business owners, but the first 50, 70 grand of profit of what appears on our profit and loss, I don't see as profit because we've got 6 vans. Think of the depreciation on those vans. Think if you want to add a van and you need to replace a van in the same year, 50 grand you're waving goodbye to. Corporation tax, 25%, waving goodbye to. VAT, maybe 10 grand a quarter sometimes, sort of thing, waving goodbye to. So straight away, what you might deem as profit, what your accountant might deem as profit, that's just basic reinvestment budget.
It's gone.
It's basic
gone.
reinvestment budget to either not just grow your company, but maybe even maintain it. Because so many will drive around in a NAF van without the cash to replace it. Machinery, again, it's not as pricey as vehicles, but again, you've got all these machines.
Vans have gone up so much in price the last
massively.
few years. Yeah.
Massively. But if you think of what is on your balance sheet in terms of equipment and vehicles and what it would cost to replace that, have you got that knocking around? You need to be super profitable. And I think a lot of small businesses are scared to be profitable.
Sometimes, just to interrupt, sometimes people think profit's a dirty word.
Yeah.
Nearly.
Yeah.
It's like, definitely not.
Yeah, it's vital. If you're not profitable, you're out of business.
Yeah.
You've got two choices here, sort of thing. So that's key because you can't grow without cash. Cash is the oxygen, the blood flow, isn't it, to your company?
And it takes cash to grow.
Yeah.
It takes cash to grow.
Yeah. So there are sources of finance, but what risks are you taking as well? And what sort of interest rate are you going to pay? I was the only time I've taken any cash, I was a little bit fortunate when I was 2017, 2018. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. This was. We had 2 Vauxhall combos at that point in time. That's crazy to think now we've got 6 real vans, so to speak. These little the insurance when you're 20 years old, but these vans just refused to die. These were the 2 sort of thing, but one did. One of these vans went down, and it was February. You're like, am I allowed to swear on this? But yeah,
You can swear.
I was like, shit. What do we do now, sort of thing? Because you want the investment for spring and into your marketing at that point, a lot of flyers. I need a van, and I want a bigger van so we can actually get some decent equipment onto people's lawns as well. So I borrowed some money from my grandparents, and I think they were a bit shocked at how quickly it got paid off again, sort of thing.
But you would have worked extra hard to give your grandparents back there.
Yeah. So I borrowed some money from a just to fund this van ultimately. So you're still paying wages and VAT and such, but I think it might have been.
Do you have the vans bought or leased?
Oh, bought, yeah. So obviously there's different ways of funding vans. Again, everyone will have their own sort of method, won't they? With lease, maybe where you just pay the monthly payment. There's one van that was on hire purchase, is now paid for outright. But at that point in time, the interest rates were rock bottom. So it didn't cost us much more for that hire purchase and keep some of the cash. But yeah, they're all paid for outright. It's just been sort of my way about it. But it depends on if you've got cash sat around where you can do that. If you need to spend elsewhere, then hire purchase could be a good move. Otherwise, you're going to have cash tied up in an asset when actually you could pay that off over a bit longer and stretch the payments out. So there's lots of ways of funding your company. So everyone will give you different answers, I think.
So your preferred is expand with profit?
Retain profit, because are you going to get a bank loan anyway, sort of thing, and at what sort of interest rate? You need to be profitable anyway. Whether you're going to get this loan, you have it profitable now or profitable later. If you are a small company, and maybe it's even before VAT registration, you should be making a mint and keeping hold of it, and you've got a reinvestment fund. You could almost pretend, you can't pretend you're VAT registered, but with the mindset that you are VAT registered, to bank extra profit for when the costs do start to ramp up. Any company that is out there undercutting a bigger player because they can do it cheaper, that's fine, but they can only feed themselves. As soon as they start taking on team members, paying those national insurance contributions and the PAYE tax and everything else that comes with it, and the say right now outside it's frozen, isn't it? We won't be able to do anything anyway. So all that downtime, that's going to catch up with you later, and then you're going to have to bump your prices up massively, probably annoy a lot of customers, and then they're going to leave. So you've got to bake profit in from the start, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to be a budget provider. Those companies have got costs, so it can't last.
I'm going to say on that note, so you have 6 vans on the road, and how many office staff do you have, or how many other staff do you have apart from the guys that are out on the road?
In a couple of weeks' time, we'll be a team of 8. That is 5 full-time technicians, 2 full-time office staff, and myself. So there's 5 vans and my van that's the spare, basically, sort of thing. So there's 5 technicians on the go and sort of an office team of 3.
And while we're on the subject of money, do you pay yourself a set wage every month, or do you take? I'm assuming that you pay yourself a set wage,
Yeah.
and then you don't take the money out; you just leave that to
So,
put back in.
I'll pay the threshold, 12.5 grand or whatever it is, sort of thing. That's the most tax efficient way of going about things. And from their dividends, because that's then the most tax efficient way up to a set level. For myself, with a simple answer on that one, get a good accountant.
Yeah,
It's key. Obviously, that all might be foreign language. Someone that doesn't have a limited company, and now with the changes in corporation tax, it might not even make sense to form as a limited company, like forming a partnership or staying as a sole trader and paying as mad as it sounds, the 20% tax rate. If you're a limited company, 25% disappears in corporation tax on your profits.
Yep.
Before you are taking those dividends. So you're paying, and even the dividend tax keeps going up as well. So there's, again, speak to your accountant. I'm not.
I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. That's just.
I'm not a financial advisor nor an accountant. Disclaimer.
And then the Labour government banging up the tax on the employees as well. So, like you say, you're talking about unforeseen costs. Then all of a sudden, things like that just on a bigger team.
I've done my maths on that. If you're a team of, I think, 3 or 4, you actually get a deduction in your national insurance bill because they change the threshold that you start paying it at. But what it does sting is the really big companies. Even me, with employing 7, we will see there'll be more that will go out in national insurance, but it won't skyrocket. If you're employing thousands, they're the ones they're the companies that will pay more, but they're not going to give pay increases as freely, are they? Or hire as many people. Yeah. So you can try and tweak things. The government can as best they can, but the market sort of will. The economist in me just says the market will just sort of balance itself out and do its own thing anyway, won't it?
So tell me this here: what systems you have talked about? Some of the systems you had in place, but what other systems have you put in place, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah, Air Manual.
Air Manual, yep.
Air Manual's fantastic one for delegation and onboarding a new team member or letting go of tasks. Again, I just love a screen recording where you can show someone what you're doing, someone else can watch that and they can pick it up. All they need is the login, watch your screen recording, or follow the checklist and the bullet points, and then at least the questions that you're getting in return are high level ones. So that's really good. I suppose
that's handy though, because they have that to fall back on if you're not about.
Exactly,
Or not 100% sure on what they're doing. They've done it a couple of times, but they can
I have it to fall back on.
To it. Yeah,
I forget, right? So I thought I could mention MailChimp within this, but yeah, if I was uploading the active customers onto MailChimp, say Olivia's off, say it's a task that Olivia would usually do, and I haven't done it for 12 months. I need to go to Air Manual to actually make sure step by step that I'm going to do this right and do this the proper way. So it actually gets stuff out of my own head rather than it's sort of going around and around. I need to do this and that and that. It's getting it down, isn't it, out of your head, and at least it can be shared around.
That's actually quite a good idea. Yeah. I had actually been thinking about doing different things like that for Jobber and then actually sticking them onto this channel.
Air Manual's good. I think for a team of up to 5, it might be 700-800 quid a year. I don't know, it's less, like 40 quid a month. I don't know, something like that.
The last time you were here, you had a bit of software, and you've told me that you've recently moved different software. Do you want to tell us your reasons behind what you were using before and what you're using now, and the reasons why you've switched over to Real?
Yeah, it's a big one. This, we used our main CRM that would send all email reminders, send invoices, payment reminders, condition reports from, and do all our scheduling. Was a system called Call Data Manager, and we've moved to Real Green, which could potentially be the market leader for lawn treatment, I think I would say. However, it's definitely not for everyone. It is probably the most costly as well.
What sort of monthly prices going out the door for that?
So with Call Manager, I think was based on per customer, and I think our bill might be about $8,000 for this year if we stuck with it, something like that. With Real Green, 13-14K, I think in all, and I think the payment processing will have to go on top of that as well. So it's definitely an area of cost, but as I say, it's not for everyone because there's so much to it. This system looks after some of the smaller franchises as well. So it has all the bells and too much information. Currently, the technicians are learning the mobile app, and a couple of them that's just information overload. There's too many things to click and things to do. That's great. The functionality is fantastic, but there's so much to learn. I think any software switch, it's not an overnight job.
No.
We started this on purpose back in July, so we're ready for spring. It's not. It's January. Let's think about our software for the years. Even as a small company, that's
Do you
going to
have
be
much crossover time between each software? So running two at the same time?
Yeah, 5 months.
Yeah.
We were still on actually sending everything through Call Data Manager right into December while we were still learning this system, because again, there's so much to learn, and it's your reputation on the line. If these emails are not sending or it's not working, you don't know what to do with it. Like, you've got to know it inside out, and you can't just down tools completely and learn a software. You've got a business to run.
Yeah.
So you've got to find the time to do that, and I thought that autumn into winter is going to be the only realistic time of year to try and make that switch.
Jack, what's your secret to getting that phone ringing to fill the diary when you have multiple crews?
On the quiet times.
On the quiet
On
times.
the quiet times.
So
If you have them.
yeah, we don't have many quiet times. Getting the phone to ring while it's quiet. You're not going to, from those that aren't already customers, is going to be my answer to this. There's no matter what marketing, how good that is, if you're going to put that out in December, depends on what service it is, I suppose. But for us in lawn treatment, people are thinking about Christmas, not the lawns. Probably not in January either. There's no point in wasting time and effort at the wrong times of year. If the phone is quiet, though, you've got your current customer base. They're already bought into you and what you do. So, for example, for us, we'll be putting out a prepay offer this year. So even though we've not got the work instantly, we've got some money coming in.
How would you do that with the newsletter?
Yes, yeah. So via MailChimp and via email, yeah. So that's an angle. Or say additional services. It depends on what you offer. Like, for example, it could be aerations for us, and at least then we could get them booked in for maybe February, March, or April. So it depends on the ground conditions and such. Sometimes it's the weather that's doing us in rather than it more than anything. So marketing to your current customers is going to be my answer, and then it's how you go about that. If you are a company where you've got 50 customers, you might want to ring them all up, check in on them, and see, look, is there anything else I can help you with? I used to do this when it was when we were mowing and the mowing season had finished. It's like, right, is there anything else I can help you with across December,
or
January?
A few years ago, whenever it was really dry, that would have been.
Yeah, that's it. So you can maybe actually give them a call and they'd appreciate that. And at least then you've got an answer, because emails half the time won't get read or replied to. But to our customer base, yeah, we can segment that customer base and maybe send different things to different customers, for example. And we've got all our cancelled customers and quotes not achieved, if they maybe not come on board for one reason or another, on that email list. So continuing putting bits out on that, such as a link to this podcast, for example, just to say this guy knows what he's on about.
Yeah.
But getting some, and it's cheap then via email, but getting information out to your current customers for different services that maybe they're not even aware that you offer is criminal. It's the sort of thing. If you offer something, tell them.
I suppose the other thing is just is trying to predict those quiet times, and then having something in place, because if you've been running for a set length of time, you start to see the rhythms, and then it's just if you have a quiet time, then your marketing's nearly feeling you.
Yeah, yeah. But for us, we know when the inquiries are going to come. So it's having the people at the end of the phone at the right time and having spaces at the right time. We also know when the inquiries aren't going to come, and we know when the The weather conditions might be up against us. The guys, for example, this week are servicing the machinery. There's lots of training and bits and pieces of sprayer servicing, calibrations. There's a lot of little health and safety things that can all be ticked off during these times. They're going to come. So again, have a plan for them. So then at least when the weather does arrive, it's as beneficial as possible. So then again, when the
Training days.
training
days.
have a meeting. There's
Yeah.
so many little things that can be chalked off that we're getting done this week to be as prepared as possible for next week. Because what we don't want to be is into the start of March and then it's, oh, that scarifier still needs the blaze changing, this still needs doing, and this still needs doing. It's like, well, we've had the time for that. So that's, you don't want to be getting delayed later on and having to dedicate time to that. Our unit's a mess each September because we haven't got any time,
Just
September,
really
October,
busy,
to do that. We're busy. It's immaculate come the middle of December then because we've added maybe just a frozen day or two to set things straight. So that's how we'll sort of try and counterbalance a quiet time a little bit. But that's the weather rather than demand as such.
You mentioned there about you have the mailing list for customers that have cancelled or that have not gone through with a quote. Do you go back to them often then to like customers that have left you? Would you go back to them regularly to try and get them back, or?
We will email our list. It should be each week. It probably ends up being once every 3 weeks, to be honest. But there's so much content that can be sent their way. Not everyone reads everything you put on Facebook. That you're already creating the content. Repurpose it and get it out there and get it sent. And it doesn't need to be buy from us. Just helpful stuff. They will come to you. Or you could have automation set up as we do in MailChimp, where someone after 6 months of cancelling, say, there'll be an automation that'll say, look, you cancelled, it was about 6 months ago. It was just to check in with you to see how the lawn's getting on now. Because we all know that lawn's gone downhill in those 6 months. The customer might have thought 6 months ago, oh, look, it's fixed, it's fine. But then obviously you take the fertiliser applications away, it's not got the food. So little check-in emails depend, and that's an automation. That's going out and you've forgotten that it's almost even set up.
Yeah.
So
Going to say as well. So earlier on, where you were talking about blogs, for your newsletters, those blogs can be dual purposed for your newsletters to help sell the past customers and current customers, and even I would use my newsletters. The worst thing a customer can say to you is, "I didn't know you did that service."
Exactly. Yeah.
If a customer says that, you failed. Your marketing's failed. So newsletters are really good to keep your customers informed all the time.
You just stop and put a bit of thought into it. There's so much you could send on it doesn't need to be a lot on an email. Just keep it short and snappy. So it can just be a link to a blog or look, here's this for you if this is helpful.
Tell me this while we're on the subject. How do you communicate price raises to customers? Do you do it by a newsletter or do you do it like a new quote every year? Would you do it? I know whenever you have you have 1,400 customers, then obviously that becomes quite a challenge to communicate price raises to individually customers.
Yeah, can't go through every single customer individually, send them a new quote for the year and that's manually time-consuming nightmare, that would be. All current customers are very welcome to sort of reassess the lawn each winter. That's fine. Like we'll say that on newsletters. Look, we'll carry out your winter treatment. If you want to have a little think about it with a technician, then let us know. We'll add in a bit of extra time for you, just a little complimentary sort of resurvey, if you like. I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah, I haven't actually come across that before.
Your winter treatments, they're a bit quicker, aren't they? Because maybe it's just a single spray, whereas if it was a fertiliser and a spray, you'd need a little bit more time on the lawn. And a lot of customers might not be in anyway, for example. But yeah, it's a little touch. I've almost half forgotten the question now. I was sort of
just how do you
price increases? That was it. Sorry.
How do you communicate that to your customer?
So via email. When on Call Manager, we could on a spreadsheet drag out the price of the treatment, and that could be uploaded into MailChimp for each customer. So then it's like a mail merge field. So it'll say, right, your price per treatment, per cut, whatever it may be for the business you're in is this much, sort of thing. And that will go on an email. Important things for this. this is something that I've been working on this week. Someone might have unsubscribed from your email list, even though they're a current customer. So I now have an email drafted to go to all the ones that are current customers but have unsubscribed to say, look, you've unsubscribed. I need you to resubscribe so we can actually get important service information to you. If you want to re-unsubscribe next month, that's fine. But they're helpful emails. But I think some people see things and just
the reason I ask is because every year I send quotes to all my customers, and Jason gave me a hand with it last year. And
it takes some time.
It is a super big task, but now Jobber have mailing system.
I think it integrates, doesn't it, with MailChimp?
So we can take, say, lawn treatment customers, and we can email all them and just say, the price is going up X amount this year, instead of sending people individual quotes, because it's so much of it's for my own business so much of a drain. I was just wondering how you did it with having. You guys have 10 times the customers I have. So
my big tips would be making sure that those people, you've covered yourself, because what you don't want to be doing is turn up in the spring and it's gone up £2. It's like, I didn't know about this. It's because they're unsubscribed. Because then you've got to honour the old price, really, and you feel like a bit of an idiot. So that would be a big point. Actually, on the email, I'd be tempted to just almost not even refer to last year's price. I'd say this year's price is this. You can overdress it by it's going up by this much to this, and people those are words that people don't like, then sort of thing. The price is this, and it might only be £1 or £2 different anyway. Everything goes up, so just got to do it. On the slightly different point, but you just got to do it every year, sort of thing. If you put your prices up by 10% and lost 10% of your customers, you would be doing less work for the same money. And you've got space then. That just be ahead for new sort of thing. So don't be scared. You will lose some. And some that you lose, they were going to leave anyway. They were just waiting for the right moment. They might have been on the way out 3 months later. Final tip, I would resend in MailChimp or say via Jobber, you'll be able to see who's opened that email and who hasn't. If they've not opened it, you can resend it to them. And then they've had it twice, because you'll still have someone that will come back and say, I didn't know about this. Well, actually, we've sent it on this date and this time and this, and you've just not opened it, sort of thing.
What's the best way to communicate a price raise to a customer? Would you just say, this year, the price is X amount, and just leave it at that? Or is there anything you would add to that?
Do you do it as a percentage, tell them the percentage it's gone up, or do you just give them a number of what it is per treatment?
I'd go a number. And this is more out of necessity rather than design, because by the time it's rounded to the nearest pound in our system anyway.
Would you just say
the percentage might be out a little bit? Because our price increases this year are going to be between 1% and 4%, depending, because it might have put. It just depends on the rounding. So I'd stay away from that, and I'll be saying, right, this year, this is the cost per treatment. You could then reweight the argument and actually highlight the things that you have it could just be 3 bullet points of the things that you've done as a business to actually enhance your service. Like this year, you have access to this customer portal, for example. We've done this and we've done this, and we've got this. It almost a little bit of re-demonstrating, actually providing really good value. But I wouldn't almost beg. I wouldn't over egg it. I think you can, because they'll.
For myself, we just I've learned just
keep it simple.
To say, yes, this year your lawn treatment cost X amount, and that's it. Thanks for your customer last year. This year, this is your price.
Your mobile phone bill goes up by whatever plus inflation, doesn't it, each year and such. And we know what sort of costs that we're bearing in terms of fertiliser and vans and such over the last 2 or 3 years. Now, we've kept up with the increases, but some businesses won't have done. Some businesses are still carrying out lawn treatments at £20 a time, sort of thing. And
like, it comes back to profit. If you want to grow, you have to charge enough.
Yeah.
So tell me this here. How's your leadership changed as the business has evolved?
Probably the wrong person to ask. That'd be a good question for Stan, I think. I hope I've sort of every year I'm in a different position. it's a different size business, trying to achieve different things with different people on the inside. So I would like to think that I'm aware of that and continuing to grow and develop as a leader, because I've never been in this position before. Feels a little bit odd sometimes saying it out loud that I employ 7 people. That feels almost a little bit uncomfortable, unnatural. Anyway, so
I suppose as well you have to look at things, what moves the needle. If you get involved in small things, then nothing really happens.
yeah,
So really delegating,
a lot.
really just like learning to delegate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that trust in handing things over and delegating, but I am focused on looking after those 7 individuals and making sure they have everything that they need and they're turning up being the best that they can be, because collectively they're moving the needle with the customers. There's only so much I can achieve directly with the customers. So as much as I am really customer focused and love speaking to customers over the phone and in person when I can, I'm playing like a leadership HR sort of business development role that's very different to what was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So it's almost self-awareness that I have to keep progressing as a leader, and try and predict situations in advance a little bit, and continually grow sort of our HR leadership sort of. And it's not just me, it's actually progressing the leadership opportunities within the team. Again, 8's a bit of a funny number. I've got 7 people directly reporting to me now. I sort of almost need a couple of middle managers, if you like. It's not really
Yep.
No one really likes middle managers, do they? But sort of people. But I sort of need.
If anybody else has a question, there's somebody else that's there.
And like Stan and Olivia are sort of are growing into that at the minute. No one directs, so sort of into reports into them directly as it stands, sort of thing. But
they're approachable.
I need to develop leaders now, not just lawn techs, because when we're a team of 10 or 12, my head's going to be scrambled unless I continue to delegate even higher level activities. I have to continue to get that off my plate as well, just so it's out of my head. Because
I've one more question for you on that note. Do you delegate stuff? How much stuff do you delegate out, and how much stuff do you do in-house? So HR, health and safety, and all the other fun stuff, bookkeeping, accountancy. Obviously, I'm sure you have an accountant. Do you have a bookkeeper, HR, who does all that for you?
I'm a big fan of keeping as much in-house as we can, because we have control over it. It's done the way that we want to do it. And if it goes wrong, we know how to fix it. And we're not sort of waiting on somebody else or paying a big invoice. However, if it is specialist stuff and we literally do not have the knowledge or resources and it just take us longer to do it, or we don't know what we're doing, then outsourcing is definitely the way.
Yeah.
Accountant's an obvious one. But get the best out of your accountant and ask some good questions. Don't just not abdicate it. If you just abdicate it and have no idea what's going on, that's a bad business owner. You want to delegate it and actually be able to have a high-level conversation with your accountant, for example. Bookkeeper was probably the best one of the last 3 or 4 years, because I was doing a lot of that. And when it went wrong then, it'd be a pain in the backside then to work out where it went wrong. So we have a bookkeeper who also works with our accountant. So everything is perfectly in lockstep there. For the amount that we pay in bookkeeping, it's just done and done effectively. Where I've done it badly before was actually with payroll. When I first started employing, I was almost a bit scared of payroll and thought, so I ain't getting involved in this, or this is scary. And actually, for how much work it is, I was paying over the odds. I think they were going to charge a flat fee for any company between 0 and 10, and we were like 2 or 3. And it was actually, we weren't getting best value for it.
That would have been a lot.
And now even I don't do payroll. Olivia does it. So that's fantastic. So yeah, there's some things definitely good to delegate to the right people. And there's some things where I try and keep it in-house as best we can. We use an answering service. That's quite a good one. So if for some reason the phone isn't answerable, if we're already all on the phone, or if it's out of hours, the call will be taken.
How soon did you enter just the answering service into your business?
I think we've had that for maybe about 3 years, maybe 4 years.
And is that somebody local or is that like one of the national ones?
That is, we've actually switched not that long ago. They're called the VA team. We literally started with them last week, sort of thing. So, so far so good. But it means then a human being has answered the phone rather than it going to voicemail or not being picked up at all. Because if you get that, they might go to the next one on Google. And we've already done all this hard work, as we've already discussed, to get the phone to ring. So don't let them go. So it's just an extra layer of customer service from that point then.
Just lastly, Jack, how far have you travelled and what hobbies do you do to de-stress?
Travelled us to get here today.
Yeah.
So yeah, from near Tamworth.
Yeah. Early flight over.
FA Cup Giant Killers. Tamworth. Yeah, West Midlands. Yeah, so flew it. It's what, a 50-minute flight or so. And then this bloke called Robbie then gave me a lift down here. So
dodgy driving, that guy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, not too taxing to get here really. Yeah, it's just a drive, a flight, and a drive. What do I do in my spare time?
What do you do? What do you do to de-stress?
To de-stress,
or just in your spare time?
Rather than put my head under any stress, I'll put my legs under stress and go running. So I'll run maybe 5 days a week.
Before work or after work?
Before. I like to get out. I think it helps me. Now I'm off the tools, I will do a run in the morning and then I'm ready to sit at my desk. I think if I didn't run, I'd just be fidgety at my desk almost, sort of thing. So yeah, run. I quite enjoy my cricket. I'll play cricket on a Saturday when I can in the summer. But yeah, just a sporty kind of guy that likes grass. Ultimately, is me.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming. And anybody, if you want to watch Jack's first podcast about how you recruit and get your team members, that's a really good podcast for anyone to watch that wants to scale their business properly. Jack, thank you very much for coming over.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Great to be here again.